Willful Disobedience, Wolfi Landstreicher, Volume 1.
Technology, a limit to creativity.
Technology is a social system. In other words, it is a system of relationships that determines the interactions of human beings with each other and with their environment in such a way as to perpetuate the system. The development of agriculture is often equated with the rise of civilization because it is the first verifiable technological system to develop. Of course, it did not develop alone. At the same time, the state, property, religion, economic exchange, cities, laws, an entire network of integrated systems and institutions developed. Taken together, these are what I mean, be civilized. And the integral relationship between these institutions must be understood if we are to fight authority intelligently. Within non-civilized societies, the cultural limits placed on creative expression are often very rigid. There is no use in venerating these societies, but they are also very few. There are still vast areas for unconstrained individual creativity, vast areas for interactions with the surrounding world that are one's own, that are resources of wonder rather than repetition of the same old habitual shit. The limits probably remain so few in these societies because social control is personal and direct. Existing, for example, in kinship relationships and sexual taboos, little thought is given in these societies to social control of the surrounding environment. With the rise of civilization, the nature of social control underwent a qualitative change. It became interpersonal, and to a large extent indirect, controlling and shaping individuals by controlling and shaping the environment in which they exist. While the more direct forms of this interpersonal social control are the work of the state, religion, law, and education, all openly authoritarian institutions, indirect social control is the work of each subtle authorities as technology, economy, and the urban environment. Agriculture and the city both create a strict connection to a specific piece of land. Agriculture requires a specific, scheduled, and socially organized interaction with this piece of land. The city takes environmental control, still furthering creating an artificial environment for the social purposes of defense, commerce, religion, and government. Its structure enforces conformity to these purposes. The activities of individuals in such an environment are restricted to specific spaces and to specific sorts of motions and interactions. The origin of civilization remains a realm of speculation, but its spread is within the realm of recorded history. In light of the restrictions it places on human interactions, it should come as no surprise that historical evidence indicates that it has always only spread by the use of force against the resistance of non-civilized people, and that it resorted to genocide when these resistances were too strong. Even in areas where civilization had already been established, there have always been individual resistors, vagabonds, treated with disgust by both peasants and city dwellers, and often on the receiving end of the violence by which the law is enforced. But against this resistance, civilization, nonetheless, spreads in the fields and in the cities. Technology developed and, with it, social control. Architecture developed to create the majestic, fear-inspiring temples to authority as well as the nondescript cubicles that house the lower classes. Economic exchange became too complex to go on without the lubricant of money. And with this development, the classes of the rich and the poor were established. The impoverished class provided people who could be coerced into laboring for the wealthy. And what is their labor? The further development of the technology that enforces social control. Technology cannot be separated from work. Nor is it without reason that each step, quote, forward in the development of technology has meant an increase in the amount of work necessary for social survival. As Nietzsche said, quote, work is the best police, end quote, and technology is this cop's muscle. Technology quite literally controls the activities of people in their daily lives. Any factory worker could tell the precise movement one is expected to make so many times each hour on the production line and how nonconformity to these motions can fuck up the production. Computers and other office machines also require very specific, restricted motions of the people they use. And the technological methods of Taylorism are even applied to service work, as 10 days of hectic wage slavery at Wendy's and several years in janitorial and dishwashing jobs taught me. None of this technology decreases labor. It just reinforces the role of work as a passive cog in the social machine. Even the recreational use of technology, television, computer games, recorded music, and so on, is a form of social control. Without ever dealing with the social history of these means and entertainment as products of work, one can easily see their role in controlling the activities of people. Through these machines, millions of people take in the ideas and images fed to them. Maybe in the case of computer games, flicking a button or moving a joystick in pseudo-interactions with a passively ingested image. None of these passive consumers of entertainment technology are creating their own pleasures, their own interactions, their own lives. None are a threat to authority. Technology and the civilized environment, urban, suburban, and rural, have only one relationship to the creativity of the individual. That is, of suppressing it. They force it into extremely narrow and confining channels which only allow for the continuing reproduction of society as an ever more controlling and limiting system. In other words, the present society has declared war on unique individuals and their creativity. Within this context, our creative expression must be largely destructive, tearing down the walls, the dams, the channels that constrain us, destroying the system of social control, including the monstrous technological system and its urban environment which define the non-lives that most people live, is essential to our self-creation, to making our lives our own.